you're looking at two deadlines 24 hours apart. One closes your window to shape a tariff relief mechanism, and the other reopens $11.5 billion in tariffs that have been suspended for years. And if you're looking at this, you know procurement teams need to know this right now. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick context. Because this trips a lot of people up, not every tariff move works the same way. Some, like Section 122, are executive authority. The president enacted it directly, no hearings required. It's collecting duty right now. Others, like Section 301, go through USTR investigation first. That means public comments, hearings, and a formal determination before any rate takes effect. Nothing is being delayed. It's a legally required building process. And until that determination happens, a proposed rate isn't collecting a dollar. Keep those two buckets separate. Active authority versus proposed authority still building its record. Ask yourself one thing about each item. Is this one already collecting duty or still proving its case? This is your Trade and Tariff Intelligence Briefing for the week of July 10th, 2026. I'm Ramey Verk. I'm a procurement leader, trade and tariff risk strategist, subject matter expert with over 20 years in supply chain, founder of Career Chronicles, and the creator of the Tariff Operating System. Today's briefing covers 10 developments across 9 active tracks, 2 refund timing updates, and the calendar that connects all of it. There's always a full analysis and tools at careerchronicles.org, and I'll put links in the show notes. Let's start off with talking about the EU aircraft tariff truce. And this is the deadline, July 11th. I know it's a Saturday. The suspension of $11.5 billion in US EU tariffs tied to the old Boeing Airbus dispute. It's set to expire. So if Washington and Brussels don't extend it before midnight, those tariffs don't need a new investigation, a comment period, or a new proclamation. They just come back. So that's a lot of tariffs. That's what we're talking about. The legal switch is already built. It has to be flipped. I had an aerospace buyer walk me through their exposure a few weeks back. Every aircraft component, every ground support import from an EU supplier priced on the assumption that the suspension holds. That assumption expires at midnight tomorrow. And for the record, I'm in Texas, and that's one of the reasons why I have access to this. I just wanted to put that out there. So here's the one thing to do before anything else. Pull your full list of EU origin aerospace and industrial inputs and confirm which ones were on the original pre suspension tariff list. Not just your top 5 suppliers, all of them. If the truce lapses, that master list is what tells you which POs are exposed tomorrow morning, not next week. And again, I know it's a Saturday. This is the procurement action that I'm taking. Confirm EU origin aerospace and industrial SKUs against the pre suspension coverage list. Put someone on a watch for July 11th announcement, extension or lapse. And I'm speaking from being in the seat of leadership where I delegate. So if that's not you, then put yourself on the July 11th announcement. Do not assume a renewal. The truce has held before. All right, we're going to start talking about China and the Board of Trade. Comments that were due. Comments on the proposed relief mechanism closed July 10th. Rebuttal comments follow on July 27th. This is still one of the bright spots, in my opinion. It's the only active track that could actually reduce tariff exposure instead of adding to it. Now, here's the procurement action. And I'm going to interrupt here real quick and let you know that if you get value from any of this, it's free for you to go ahead and subscribe. And that lets me know that you want me to do this. This is what I normally present to teams. And now I'm sharing that with Substack and YouTube and wherever else you hear this. So it just lets me know. All right, the procurement action. Again, this is what I'm doing and being a subject matter expert. Identify China origin inputs where this relief would actually change a sourcing decision, not just shave a line item cost. Get your position into the record before the window closes. And Brazil, the final decision is now dated July 15th. Reuters reports USTR's final determination on the proposed 25% tariff is expected by July 15th. Two threads to keep tracking inside that. Senator Flavio Bolsonaro, he is still lobbying Washington for that 180-day delay. It's a political data point, not a change to the investigation. The U.S. coffee industry, however, is pushing to keep green coffee exemptions in place and add instant coffee to that list. And again, here's the procurement action that I'm actually taking here. I'm keeping every Brazil origin SKU categorized, covered, exempt, or unknown through July 15th. Food and beverage buyers, you need to verify exact HTS coverage on coffee products, not the broad product description. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and let you know. I actually, because I had to deal with this a lot, I actually created it. It's an actual live tracker. You can just put the HTS number in there and get that information like immediately, like right now. So then it would be a lot easier for you to know where you're at. And so you don't have to go ahead and go to the USTR's website and download that entire thing. I'm not sure how you even track your HTS or HS codes. I do have something, I'll put it in the description. I'm going to keep moving. I get sidetracked. Basically, back to the procurement action, I would also hold budgeting at the proposed 25% until the July 15th determination lands. This is the forced labor. This is the exemption fight that keeps on moving forward. All right, here we are. The hearings that opened July 7th are still actively shaping the outcome. Latin American countries and some steelmakers are seeking exemptions from the proposed 10 to 12.5% duties, specifically around raw materials like pig iron. So, and I put a little note for myself to go ahead and check this before I recorded. And this is about this specifically to make sure that it's not a stale item before I went ahead and reported on it. And again, I want to be clear about this one. It's not settled. People are actively fighting over these exemptions right now while you're listening to this. Now, the procurement action here. You need to keep the supplier country, HTS, and forced labor documentation mapped until final action, not just through the hearing dates, okay? If you buy raw materials or pig iron from Latin America, watch for country or material specific exemption language before you assume you're covered. Now, Spain is a new track. It's still early, but this is one of the ones that just showed up. And so I want you to treat it as early and not settled. The administration has directed agencies to prepare possible restrictions on Spanish trade. That's a proposed posture, not an active tariff, and there's no product list yet. The EU Trade Authority also complicates any unilateral US action here. Spain doesn't set its own trade policy independent of Brussels. So the procurement action, you need to flag Spain origin suppliers now, okay? Especially pharma, crude oil, aircraft, and consumer goods. And I understand with the crude oil, aircraft, and with what's going on with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, this is probably something you've already flagged, but it needs to be flagged under this as well. Do not reprice anything yet. Wait for a formal product list before touching your cost model. All right, North America and vehicles. There are two different fronts we're going to go ahead and deal with this on. So let's talk about it on two separate tracks. Start with the USMCA. The renegotiation window is open, and negotiators are expected to push for higher North American and U.S. content requirements on automobiles. July 20th, it's still the next watch date. Separately, the Senate Commerce is scheduled to vote on July 15th on legislation tightening the ban on Chinese vehicles. including software and connectivity restrictions. That's not a tariff, it's a market access and compliance issue. And auto and EV teams need it on the same radar as content rules. Here's your procurement action here. Okay. You need to refresh your rules of origin documentation ahead of July 20th. That's this month. Okay. Auto and EV teams track the Senate vote alongside tariff exposure. A connected vehicle restriction can block a part regardless of what duty rate applies to it. Okay, so I'm going to take a beat here and I'm going to explain something. It's important. It's been about a year and a half, and we've really been dealing with a lot of trade and tariff volatility. And I'm not saying that trade and tariffs haven't been somewhat of a huge thing that we have to deal with it as far as making trade decisions and tariff decisions when it comes to budget and forecasting and all that. I I wanted to go ahead and okay, so I'm taking a beat here because I want to bring you in on why I do the list of dates and the procurement actions the way I do, the 90-day calendar that I've talked about that is in the description below or the show notes. If you're like me, look, about a year and a half ago, this wasn't something you had to actively track like daily. Tariff changes just showed up. A bill would pass, or it landed as a line item in your ERP system, or you had a meeting and it was brought up on your monthly, and that's how you found out. You didn't have to go looking for it. Look, we're basically a year and a half into this, where now tariff policy doesn't sit still long enough for that to work anymore. It's not a one-time spike you wait out. It's a constant moving target. And that's exactly why this list isn't just news to me, it's the job now. And Section 122 is the clearest example of why that's true. And I want to say this has been me before, and I'm sure it's been you. I'm sitting at my desk. Someone walks in and says, "Hey, they're having a meeting on Section 122." They don't even know what it's all about. They just heard the Supreme Court hearing, and now suddenly there's a meeting because guess what? This new tariff's going to go ahead and cause all this. It's at 10%, it's at 15%. They don't know what to do. So, you know what I did? This is insane. It actually transformed everything for me, and I wasn't even gonna include it, but now I did go ahead and include it in the $27 playbook suite. I'm just gonna let you know. It's basically like a live interactive command center, and what it does is it gives you right then and there, if someone comes to your desk and says, "Hey, they're having this meeting," you can be like, "Alright." I pick up my computer and I walk in there and I start presenting on the spot. I didn't have to sit and go ahead and start making these presentations that took me, what, 30 minutes before or longer. You know, we all have AI injected in everything. I actually use AI a lot in work and how it works for me because there's a lot of redundancies that have now been eliminated. But again, rabbit trail, going back to what I was talking about. So I created this this basically this living dashboard that connects to my workbooks that I work, and these are all field tested, by the way, because I use them actively, and I created them years ago, and they've just grown into this massive tariff operating system. Anyhow, I was able to go ahead and just be like, okay, this is where we stand. This is where Section 122, because as soon as it came up, as soon as it was a conversation of topic, it was already valued and priced into my workbooks. And so I was able to go ahead and it was already a line item. I mean, because it was that instantaneous. I was like, all right, I can go ahead and put it in, put the column in and do all the work, put the formulas in. And it took me minutes to go ahead and start sharing it on screen with everyone. This is where we're at risk. This is what it's going to affect. This is, I mean, it was absolutely insane. Talking about Section 122, it's 14 days now. In 14 days, it's 2 weeks, a fortnight. It's still scheduled to expire July 24th unless Congress acts. Again, volatility, tariff, year and a half. This is why we go ahead and flag this. And so what I would do here is I would maintain the same three scenarios. The first scenario, expiration. The second scenario is extension or replacement by forced labor, Section 301. Don't collapse them into one guess with 2 weeks out. Okay? Just don't do that. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the two refund clocks. This is a mechanics update. And this is where the numbers actually matter. So slow down. There's a mechanics detail on CAPE that a lot of teams are getting wrong right now. And I hate to go ahead and point stuff like this out. CBP has confirmed CAPE refunds apply specifically to IEEPA duty owed. Column 1 and general duty still apply separately. CAPE doesn't touch those. And CAPE Phase 2 has a hard boundary. It's a limited to unliquidated entries and entries within 80 days of liquidation. Outside that window, CAPE isn't the tool. You're back to PSC or protest. So the second clock is same as always. The AGOA and Haiti, the refund request filed after August 2nd are denied. Full stop. Pull qualifying entries and assign PSC, protest, DIS, or no action follow. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick explainer for DIS in case a lot of people don't know. That's CBP's document image system. Sometimes I abbreviate because I'm so used to the terminology. So I apologize for that. It's where supporting documents get uploaded for entries where the filing's fine, but paperwork still needed to be on record. It's for the ACE. It's a U.S. Customs and Border Protection trade context deal. It's just basically the digital tool that's integrated in their environment, which is called ACE, FYI. Anyway, so you can look it up, or if you want, again, I'm injecting this after the fact because I realize, like I said, that I sometimes use terminology that not everybody knows. All right, the procurement action. I'm sorry for rapid trailing. And the procurement action. Here we're going to go ahead and sort every entry by liquidation status before filing anything under CAPE Phase 2. You want to go ahead and keep CAPE, PSC, protest, and ordinary duty corrections in separate finance tracker lines. They are not the same recovery path. AGOA and Haiti, you're going to want to start pulling the lapse period entries this week if you haven't already done so. And August 2nd, it is pulling up fast. So definitely treat it like a hard deadline. It's like, all right, here are some watch items: Switzerland and Germany plus pharma. Two items that round out the picture. Okay, let's start with Switzerland. A Swiss trade official said that there's a good chance that the preliminary 15% US tariff rate holds. So if you source from Switzerland, stay in deal pending, rate like stable status until final text publishes. Don't lock in a lower number yet. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little context here. When you're dealing with Switzerland, I know everyone just thinks about timepieces or whatever, but in like some manufacturing, especially if you're dealing with, in Texas, in the oil and energy sector, the processing plants or whatever, they sometimes have these fine-tuned mechanisms. And I don't want to say they're clock mechanisms, but in my brain, that's what it looks like because I'm not an engineer. I don't pretend to be, but the engineering team will tell me about the fact that there's these items that come from Switzerland. So it actually does matter for us because that's one of the things that I've had to deal with. And I just want to let you know that. So you might want to check to see if you source anything like that. If you do, like I said, don't lock in a lower number yet. All right, for Germany, the pharma section 301. It's still on track. Comments are due August 10th. Hearings are on September 22nd. The pharma chemicals, packaging, and EU adjacent sourcing. Start watching Remedy Scope. The docket does move slower, but it's smaller. And on this front, if you want me to go into detail exactly what this is, because I realize one thing. If you just want to go ahead and get a calendar and have like your AI give you all of your calendared items, that's fine. You can go ahead and do that. I mean, that's literally one of the reasons why I built the calendar that I put in the description below. Is it's really simple to go ahead and have it built. But there's nuance that AI just doesn't get yet. Not that AI isn't great. I'm not saying that it is. It's a great tool. But it doesn't have that nuance, that strategy, like that procurement action, that, like the context on how you can be a little more where you need to be more strategic. But I don't think that AI applies a creative output or a strategic output yet. That's not where we're at. And I say this, I'm going to go ahead and give you this context for me. It's like lawyers. So the law is supposed to be black and white, But when they go to court, they're finding loopholes, and then there's the spirit of the law and all that, and that can't be captured with AI. AI can't fight with the spirit of the law because I don't think AI has that. And I hate to say mindset because it's a tool, not a person, but it doesn't have that way of looking at it like, hey, how do we go ahead and go in the gray here so we can fight this action? So that's why I say one of the reasons why I even come up whenever I'm working on a project, I give these calendar dates and everything. And it is because of that, is because it's important for people that don't deal with trade and tariff risk and the little minute actions that you have to be looking at when it comes to the calendars that I'm giving you. I'm going to stop there because, again, I'm rabbit trailing. But I was just basically trying to make the point that, yeah, you could go ahead and go onto AI and have it fill your calendar with these reminders. You're not gonna have the same procurement actions that I'm giving you, which is fine if you don't need it. I think that my 20 plus years doing this does add value, and if it does for you, if it adds value, I'm gonna keep on saying the exact same thing that I've said before. Please subscribe wherever you're listening. It's free to do, and it helps me know this is something you wanna keep me doing. Moving on. I'm gonna give you a watch list. These are the 5 moments where someone's gonna ask you about it before you're ready if you don't move now. First one is gonna be the EU aircraft truce. Tomorrow, someone opens an invoice on an EU PO that might just be more expensive than it was this morning, and you need to confirm your exposure list. Number 2, the China Board of Trade. No position in the record means no say in where the relief line gets drawn. Number 3, the Brazil July 15th decision either confirms your 25% number or clears part of it. Keep your SKUs bucketed until you know which. Number 4, Kate phase 2. File outside the 80-day window and you just wasted the filing. Sort by liquidation status before you touch it. Number 5, the AGOA in Haiti. Again, August 2nd. It's a hard deadline. Pull the lapse period entries this week. Let me give you some dates to monitor. China Board of Trade comments are due. Tonight, the window closes on the one track that could reduce your exposure instead of adding to it. July 11th, which is tomorrow, if the EU aircraft tariffs snap back and nobody flagged your EU origin POs, the first person to find out is whoever's opening the invoice. And that's not going to be a good conversation to have that you missed it. July 15th, 2 rooms, one date. Brazil's final call and the Senate Chinese vehicle vote land the same day. It's different questions, same deadline, so be ready for both. July 20th, USMCA negotiation watch. July 24th, it's 2 weeks out. Someone's going to walk up and ask, are we covered when Section 122 expires? Or they're just going to be like, hey, what's this about Section 122? Is it gone? Are we good? Can we Are we gonna have to pay extra tariffs? What's going on here? And the honest answer is always gonna be depends on which of the 3 scenarios plays out. Have that model ready before they ask. July 27th is the China Board of Trade rebuttal comments due. The window closes tonight for the China Board of Trade comments on July 10th. So there's 2 different things happening for the China Board of Trade. August 2nd, the AGOA in Haiti. After this date, the refund door, it doesn't delay, it closes. So you'll miss it. You will lose out on money. So that's why I keep pushing the August 2nd date. August 10th and September 22nd, Germany Pharma Section 301 comments, then public hearing. Look, all of these dates and the full planning calendar through September 2026 are in the free 90-day tariff risk calendar. There are sources down below. Again, the 90-day tariff risk calendar, it's every deadline, hearing, and refund window through September 26th. The HTS rate lookup, it's basically you can enter any HTS code and get the current rate across Section 301, 232, 122, all the overlays. It's in one place. You just go to the link and you can just enter one in there. And if you don't know it, it's very easy to go and figure out which one it is because there's all the drop down. So it's so easy and at least gives you some idea of where you stand. And the tariff refund suite. Okay, now this is the other thing. Remember that dashboard I was telling you about, the live dashboard and the live interactive one? I have one for the refund suite too. So it's with that entire suite and it basically gives you like your live situation. And I'm going to interject with a story, even though I've been rabbit trailing a lot. So I had someone tell me about this situation where they definitely, as soon as phase one opened, they went ahead and uploaded and they did everything they were supposed to do. And then they started getting bills. And the bills were prior to Liberation Day. So they were being asked, like, and of course it was going to finance. And so the operations, and it depends on where supply chain or procurement falls under your in your company or your set. But so operations was not flagging it because it doesn't deal with them. So they were passing the invoices or passing the CBP bills over to finance accounts payable, and accounts payable was going to pay it, not realizing that April 2nd was the day that those tariffs were supposed to be in effect, and that company was already filing for they were already uploading into the CAPE system, and so what ended up happening was this: because of the dashboard that I built, that's why I have one for the tariff refund suite. They actually asked me if I would give it to them, and I was like, I don't no, this is my proprietary stuff. I This is mine, but, I decided to put it into the actual, tariff refund suite because it'll flag that. So it'll immediately show if you get a bill, then anybody on that team can easily open this because it's connected to your workbook, your actual work that you're doing, which is live because you're doing this every day. You should be doing it every day. You should be touching this every day. It's actually connected to that, so all they'd have to do is, like, they can open up that dashboard instantly and see it and say, "Okay, this is before the deadline. We don't pay this bill," and then pass it on to you so that you can go ahead and, you know, connect with them and get that bill erased, and for this particular company, it was, like, tens of thousands of dollars, if not closer to $100,000, which I know can add up really quick when it comes to tariffs and what we've had to deal with for the past year and a half. Because let's be honest, when we got into this, a lot of companies, we had a good cash flow situation. We had reserves, we had all that, but with everything that's happened and the way the economy's been going and the way with, eh, costs and stuff, your reserves are starting to get lower. So you need to make sure you're not spending where you by accident or not getting those refunds or not being prepared for what you need to be prepared for. All right. And that's basically the tariff refund suite. So it's built for the importer who walks into next month's close already knowing which entries are filed, staged, or still need action. Like, it gives you the eligibility, the filing path, CAPE prep, the entire suite does all this, the protest templates and the tracker that keeps CAPE and AGOA Haiti separate. Does it for you so you know it. And all you have to do is make sure your calendars are updated. And I'm just going to say this: the Tariff Playbook Suite, it's only $27, and I included that entire command center in there. And it's basically the live dashboard, it's an executive dashboard and presentation because you can toggle between the two, which is great. And guess what? It's localized to you, so it's customized by your stuff. It never hits the internet. It doesn't go anywhere besides your local workbook. That's the best part of it, okay? It's an executive dashboard that turns your tracker into a live view of what's overdue, what's at risk, and what's to say when leadership asks. All right, we're there. Have a great weekend. Remember, you have two deadlines, 14 days to the big one. The teams that come out ahead aren't the ones tracking the most headlines. They're the ones who treat all of this as one connected calendar and move before the deadline arrives. So, for the full breakdown, obviously the tariff rate lookup, you can go to careerchronicles.org. Links are in the show notes. This has been your tariff intelligence briefing for July 10th, 2026. I'm Rami Verk, and I'll see you in the next one.